but we're not going to focus too many on the AIA standards as far as materials and stuff. I did put a copy of the key up here, so please use it if you have any questions on the dimensioning process and maybe even the drawing process. I also did put 5A up there because that's a new assignment this year, and I don't have the ability or capability of doing peer reviews. There's nothing ever left my office until I had some of my peers look at it when I was working a real job. You folks are going to be my peer review on this. I think I've got it complete. I've got one of my options up there. Please look it over if you notice anything that should be done differently. Because I did kind of do things slightly different. I didn't use associative dimensioning on a couple items. I went with contours versus. I did some other things. So please make any comments, just write right on that thing. I'll take them in consideration. So as I build my key, I'm going to keep this drawing. I like this drawing. So it's, hey, what's that?
You didn't break around the leader line.
Oh my gosh.
Well, hey, we were here for it.
Yep, write a little note.
Go, Lisa. Woo.
Your dimensions right.
Yeah, get on
Keep
that.
it-
I mean,
Like,
that's wrong.
that's
I
wrong.
tell you.
That's the kind of person you want to work
Well, he's quick
with.
to tell me, so
You bet.
I'll find more.
Just write a little note on that. Okay, just write a little note, and then if I did something that it's wrong, you don't see stuff, right? When you look at the screen, you'll sit there all day long and say, oh, I got this thing perfect, and look at it, and then somebody will walk by and go, why'd you do that? And you go, I never even saw it. Okay. That happens to everybody. That's human. Nobody's perfect. In fact, you folks are going to figure this out when you get in the work world. You're working in a team. You'll be working with people with 40, 50 years experience that have forgotten more about construction than you'll know in the next 20. They'll still rely on you because it's a team. They'll miss stuff just like you'll miss stuff. That's why we work in that environment. Okay.
Something I noticed in yours that I didn't do is you referenced the incline line. So I guess since you're already spelled out where the points go, you don't, and you give it, since you spelled it out, that's a double dimension in it. And that's why you did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you mean the inclined surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you gave the point. I mean, we all did that, you know, and then you mentioned it, so I gotta go, I just saw it.
Okay, but be that as it may, please make any comments on it. I may take them, I may not. But I would like
He
to.
looks at you.
May take them, may not. No, seriously, that is really how the process works in the work world. It's too important for these drawings to be right when they leave our office, because expensive mistakes happen downstream if they're not. You guys don't know this yet, but no drawing leaves an office until it's been looked at probably 10, 15 times. It never leaves. Companies go bankrupt over stuff that's wrong on these.
Oh, wow.
They do. Anyway, there's those two resources for you. All right, how do we get to that final result? Right now, if you are all cut up, you have this drawing, which is your floor plan, and you may or may not have it dimensioned. Okay. Again, I've just kind of thrown out some stuff. I put the copy up there. Again, I'm not too concerned that you get everything exactly right, except for the stuff that we know of. Okay, you should apply a DSF. You should have this a ½ inch off in the printing process. Okay, all of that is the same for all disciplines. So that's what I'll be looking for on there. Any questions on this guy? Yes?
So you wanted like even inches and even feet? So you didn't want like a 1/4 inch or anything like that?
No, we actually, it's in your drawing. Your deck, dim deck is set to a 16th.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it should be rounding to a 16th.
Okay. Perfect.
All right, now, the other thing that we did yesterday is we went and XREF'd this drawing in. You will not have to do anything to this. All we're going to do is print it. Okay, but you did XREF it in. Now, the other part is, any questions on this?
But XREF, does that mean you copied it and pasted and brought it over, or are you actually pointing it at something?
We're pointing it at something.
We pointed this drawing to this one. This is a totally separate drawing, this wall section that you see. We
There's a
used the
video on it.
XREF process. Was this where you left to do your final thing? Wait, I think this was recorded. Did that
Yeah.
video get pasted?
He uploaded it today. The camera died towards the end, so I'm not sure what we missed, but
Okay,
it
well, we're
should all
gonna
be
go
there.
through rec-repping right now.
How did you change the transparency on it?
In options under the display tab. Okay, so if you would hit OP, go to the display tab. Look in the bottom right-hand corner, you see XREF fade control. If you don't want it faded, set it to 0.
And that's how we want it, right? We want to set it 0 so
No,
that
it's total preference. It's a
But
way
when it-
AutoCAD's telling you what's XREF and what's not, is by the transparency.
when it plots, will it plot
Yes, it'll plot perfectly.
even if you have the
Doesn't matter.
transparency set to something else?
That is correct.
Okay.
Transparency will have nothing to do with the plot.
Okay, that's
Yeah, it's just a display item. All right, now, the last thing we want to take care of is this guy right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what you should do on that, you had a footing detail that was set on Google Classroom. You should have downloaded for it. In there, you should have this drawn. On Google Classroom, there was a footing.dwt or something.
And it just had our blocks in it.
Yeah, it had no geometry, it just had the blocks.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I wanted you to use that one is because there is no title block in here. Everything's been stripped down. Remember, when you XREF stuff in, the layers and everything comes with it, right? So this one, if you look at it, okay, you don't have, there. Okay. And you've got a series of blocks, which I don't even have in here because I've deleted them all out. Now, if you go to paper space on this, you're gonna find there's no title block in here either. Okay, this thing's never gonna be printed by itself, so we wanna strip it down so when we XREF it in, we're not dealing with a whole bunch of layers and things like that. So all I want is my geometry. So, in model space, I got it. Come on, catch up to me, buddy. I'm gonna do an undo to get my geometry back. Okay. So here you have just your little blocks that are sitting in that border area. Just draw this thing in its entirety. Use your blocks as you need it. When you've got this drawn, delete everything out except for this. Okay. And save it. Do not dimension it. Draw it at 1:1. Are there any questions on how to get the information off of the print I gave you? Because not everything's sized on here. I mean, things are called out like, 11/7/8 floor joists.
3
this
and a
type of
quarter.
stuff. 2x4s. You can use your architectural scale at the 3/4 scale to measure anything on that drawing. Draw it 1:1 in here, architectural units. We're going to print it at a scale different. Remember, we're comparing and contrasting the two ways to do XREFs. One is one that has at a set scale, fully annotated, everything's done. But you do not have the option of changing the scale with it. You always got to print it at that scale. The way we're doing this one is we're not annotating, it's a 1:1. I can drop this in any drawing, and then I can print it at 1 inch to a foot, I can print it at 3/4 to a foot, I can print it at 16 to a foot, whatever. I have a lot more flexibility with this one on the print process.
But you want to make it architectural, so you want to do 1 inch to 1, but.
Well, we're gonna get there. All right. So just draw out 1:1 in this drawing. Save it, you're done. Okay. Are we good with that? Okay. Once you have that, you'll save it and close it. If you've already got this done, then you can follow me in this process. And I'm gonna go ahead and set this. Now, I don't want to redimension the whole thing. Now, let me go quickly. Now let's leave this guy alone. All right, so once you've got that, then you're going to do the XREF process. So I type in XREF. And you get your little XREF dialog box up. Again, we're going to attach a drawing. So once I've got my thing, I come up to this little DWG with the paper clip on it, our attach symbol, same one you got in your email. And I'm going to click on it. Remember, there's those drop-down arrows. You don't have to hit those because it's attached DWG by default. Okay. Now you're in really kind of a block insert. Let me pause just a minute. Cheryl, you got it? Okay, just type XREF so you see the XREF dialog box. XREF. Okay, once I've got that, I search for my file that I've got saved. Here it is. And I'm going to open that thing. Again, just drop it in scale at where you 1:1. And I just want to drop it somewhere in my drawing where the space is all alone, so you're going to be sitting with this type of drawing now. Now, the only thing you'll have to do here is annotate it, because it's 1:1. So you say, okay, what scale am I going to print this at? In this case, you're told we want to do it 1 inch to a foot. So the only thing I need to do here is place this in, set my annotation scale to the one I'm going to plot it at. Because you've been running this at 1/4 inch to a foot for the floor plan, right? Now I'm going to set it to 1 inch to a foot. So I come down here, go ahead and choose my 1 inch to a foot. Now what's the DSF of 1 inch to a foot? No.
12 inches.
Okay.
6.
Remember how we do this? And I didn't do this with 1/4 inch. I hope you folks figured out that it was 48. I can go over that if you wish me to. But when you're doing DSF, 1 inch is equal to 1 foot, 0 inches. What is the first thing we do? We get our units the same. Okay. This is feet. Okay. So it's 1 inch is equal to 12 inches. Does anybody need me to show you what I've done here? Okay, the unit conversion. All right. So now I've got my units the same. Next thing we do is get 1 on the left side. It's already here. So my PSF is equal to 1/12. This drawing is being reduced 12 times when it goes to the plotter. My DSF is equal to 12. Now, what does this mean? It means a lot of things. My dimensions are 1/2 inch off. So 1/2 inch times 12 means my first dimension is going to be 6 inches off. Right? It means if I'm doing a center line and I got to create some breaks, here's my DSF. It'd be an 1/8 inch or a 1/16 times these. All your DSF things that come into play when you annotate. Okay, so in essence, I still use my arch dimension style. Nothing changes there. I don't have an MLS. But, so I'll just come in here now, and I'm going to just throw a couple dimensions out here. So I grab this guy, I come and I want to pull 6 units off. That one goes there. I think we've got this dimension. That goes off 6 units. Now, I put those 6 units off, or 6 inches, but when I send this to the plotter, it's going to be reduced by 12 times. So 6 reduced by 12 times means this distance is going to measure a 1/2 inch. That's why we do this. So I've now got these done. You're going to use multi-liters. Again, you'll have your artstyle.shx, which I don't have. I'm going to run you through some stuff on that font, by the way. It's got some really nice button hotkeys on there. And then I'm going to apply multi-liters for some of the rest. Okay. So when you do a multi-liters, you just want them to read well. Okay, so I'm going to come up and Now I don't even have one set up. Let me real quickly set up a multi-liter. And I think that's, do I got a text now? Yeah, thank goodness I got that in here. Now on this one, how do you get the multi-liters a half inch off? Sometimes you don't get them all the way 6 off, because if you'll look at these, you will run into some problems. Okay, I wanted to get an offset on here. Let me just show you this. I'm going to do an offset of 6 units. Now when I grab this XREF and I try an offset, nothing happens. Okay, because it's a block as far as it's looking at a picture. There is no geometry here. Okay, so if I want to get that off, what I've got to do is come in here and draw a line either on it or off. And now I'll do my offset of 6. Throw that out there. Don't forget to delete these lines back out. Okay. And so this guy is going to be about right there. Ah, and then make these appear well, because you got to stack them, right? There's a whole bunch of them on there, and you want to make sure those are there. Now, some nice things about the artstyle.shx font. Okay, I'm going to switch, go ahead, and if you got this drawing up, I want you to pop a MText box open somewhere. I don't have it on here, but I can show you the keystrokes. So just make sure your art style or your text style is set to Arch 1. And then do MText and make yourself a box so you're ready to type. Okay, everybody there? Juan, you there? Jess? Cheryl? I don't see an MText box. Oh, okay, yeah, there it is. Gotcha. All right, now you have some keys on your keyboard that are going to have some nice things for you. Namely, these guys right through here. Okay. Punch this first bracket key. What pops up on your screen?
A bracket.
Reports.
Okay. If you see a bracket, you're not in artstyle.shx. Hold the shift key down and hit the same bracket key.
Sweet.
Okay, do the next one.
7/8, and then hit the shift 5 minutes.
Yeah, and the next one?
And 40.
Hey, basketball.
Eighth. The eighth is somewhere down here. I think it's this guy.
Got it open. Oh my gosh, that's fun.
You got the plus and minus too.
What's that?
Colon has plus and minus as well.
Yeah, the colon is plus minus. Do the other one I think is just the normal.
Colon.
Yeah, it's a colon, so it's a semicolon, right? Let's see. I think this one also, is this center line, property
Yes.
line? CLPL?
Yeah.
The less than key?
Oh, the 8th is an underscore. So it's all the way.
Right up here?
Yes.
Here's the eighth. If you need it,
Do you have a cheat sheet?
I actually have made a cheat sheet of this, and I'll put it out there when we do architecture. If you go to the tilde, which I can't really, it's this key in the top left, right below your escape key. I think that's the degree. So there's kind of some hidden hotkeys on this guy. You'll need the fractions, is what you'll need, because we have fractions in your tiles, because we're doing multiple scales. So over here under your scale, you've got as noted, right? And then underneath each title, we've got 1/8 inch with the architectural scales. When you've got this guy right here, you're going to do like an 11 7/8. Okay, so this will stack those fractions for you automatically. Just do 11 and then hit your 7/8 key and it will place it. And it does it to AIA standards. Remember, in mechanical, when we do fractions, we do a horizontal stack, so everything's vertical, right? Okay. So if I do a fraction in engineering, it reads like this. Architectural does allow this type. Okay, and that's what the artstyle.shx font is doing for. So anyway, you got those hotkeys that will help you in your multimeters as you place them. Now, once you've got those done, okay, then we're going to set the plot up. That's it. Your drawing's done. Okay, so let me just kind of delete this out real quick. So in essence, you're going to have 2 XREFs, one, oh, you can't see this. You got these 2 XREFs done in different ways, but they're completed. Okay. You've got your floor plan. Again, here's those titles we're talking about where you'll have stuff. Now, once you have those, let's go to Paperspace and look at how we'll set this up. Now, I'm just going to delete everything I've got out of here. So in your title block, please put on your scale as noted, put your name here, put the correct date. Yes, we've been doing this project for this long. Okay. Here's our plot area right here. Now we're going to do something slightly different here. You're going to do this a lot like drafting 132, the very last assignment. Remember we did an English unit drawing and a metric drawing on the same sheet? And you used 2 viewports at different scales? Exact same process here. So in essence, what you're going to do is create a different viewport for each one of these drawings that are to a scale. Now when you go into Paperspace, remember you do have your layout annotation ribbon. So I'm going to click into that. Now, under your viewports, remember right up here where it's rectangular, you have a rectangular polygonal. When I'm doing multiples, I really like the polygonal so I can use grips to change its shape. You can go rectangular if you wish, but I would go polygonal. Now, when you go create the viewport, don't worry about the size a whole lot. Okay, I'm just going to kind of digitize in a polygon. I don't really care about the shape. Okay, so you got one of them done? All right, now this one I'm going to print the viewport in, or excuse me. I'm going to print the floor plan in. So what I need to do is center the viewport in here. So just double click inside the viewport and activate it. So I'm now in model space. Now if you zoom in and out, you're going to see your entire drawing, right? Just go find your floor plan and bring it up into your viewport. So that's all you're really looking at. Doesn't matter the scale right now. Double click out of your viewport. So you're back in paper space. Now you want to set the scale of the viewport. Okay, so I'm going to click on this viewport. I'm going to come down to my annotation scale and I'm going to set it at 1/4 inch to a foot. Okay, don't worry about how it's appearing where I've got parts of it chopped off. Don't worry about it. Now, does anybody not have any dimensions that show up? Because you will have times in here, and I think some of you have had this problem on other drawings, where you've got dimensions in model space and they're not showing up here.
Yeah.
Okay? That's because you've got this first scale item right down here on your annotation scale. That's the variable that's turned off, and it's meant to not display any annotative objects that don't match the scale of this viewport. And if you've got an object out there with no annotation on it, it says I won't display it. So just click that button and it shows everything, okay, regardless of the annotation scale. Okay, so I've got this thing to the correct scale. Now all I do is select it and I'm going to move my nodes around so that I display the entire object as I wish it to be displayed. The thing you want to watch for here is around these edges, you don't accidentally have that, okay, where I've chopped off all this stuff that's outside the viewport. So just make sure you're searching around the outside and you see the full extent. Now, viewports are just objects, okay? Gotta fix one here. Once I get it how I like it, then I'm just going to move this thing. So I do the move command on my viewport, and I kind of want this